Hello, my name is Buddy Rhodes, and today we will be making a cast-in-place countertop. We have prepped the counter using concrete board for our subtop, which is backer board. There are many different brands. And then we're using this edge form made by Concrete Countertop Solutions. It's a sturdy plastic. This is a 2-inch bullnose. And after it's all cured out, we can snap off the curved bullnose edge, leaving half of the plastic inside, protecting the cabinet, as well as giving us a nice straight edge as we're casting. So I really like these forms. They make many different profiles, and today, the 2-inch bullnose. Cast in place is really, you can cast it anywhere. It's great because you can just put the forms on your cabinets and cast it right there. Usually it's a hard trowel surface and you just trowel it and lightly polish it out or buff it out and then seal it. So it's a very simple system, and it can be made indoors, outdoors, by your barbecue pool area, or indoors, or anywhere you want. It's just very versatile technique. Now our cabinet is all prepped and ready to go. It has the forms on it, the concrete board, our ladder wire, and we're all ready to mix concrete. We'll be mixing a little bit differently today by adding pea gravel to the mix to get a better yield out of the concrete and to have less shrinkage. So we're going to add 20 pounds of pea gravel for every bag that we cast. Today is going to be a 2-bag cast, and we'll add 40 pounds of pea gravel. To mix our concrete, we're going to use 2 bags of concrete, 1 can of moss pigment, 3 quarts of curing compound, and 6.5 quarts of clean water. Use cold water when it's hot out and warm water when it's cold. You want to mix the concrete so it's very oatmeal-like. Too wet, too soupy, it makes the concrete too weak. When it dries out, it will shrink and kind of dilute it. So you want to keep it workable, but not too wet. Now that we have our concrete all mixed up, I'm going to wet the concrete board, which is our subtop, with water, just so it's a little moist, so it doesn't draw the moisture out of the concrete. So here's our mix. It's not too wet, not too dry. It's just perfect. And we're going to stuff it into the edge. With our mix, you want to make it add less water to make it more pliable and that you can work it. So I'm placing half, just a little bit of concrete down, and then I'll put in my ladder wire. I really want to get these edges nice and tight. Cast in place is a wonderful thing because you can just work right there on your cabinets. There's no installation after it's done. It's already installed. But you do have to baby it. You don't want to cast in direct sun. You want to kind of tent the area so you don't have sun blaring down if you're outside. Cast in place is a very traditional way of making concrete countertops. So I pre-cut this 9-gauge galvanized wire, and I'm just going to place it on the edges of this piece. Just around the perimeter, one in the middle, like that. And then just fill up the mold over our reinforcement wire. Another reason to use the Buddy Rhodes concrete counter mix is that it's very workable. It's not soupy, and you don't have to suspend your wire and then pour in the soupy mix inside. You're kind of constructing your piece by just placing the concrete over the wire, and it's a little bit more work, but it's a lot stronger project. Now that we have it pretty much full, I'm going to take a 2x4 and just screed the top. I like to walk it like this. This screeding is it's working the pea gravel down into the concrete mix and kind of working up, leaving the cream on top. And so that's what we're going for, as well as filling all these little holes. So this isn't a finished surface. This is just a process, the first process of troweling. It's a series of troweling over a couple of hours' time. You don't need to stress over that this is the surface. As it sets, it's going to get more leather hard and easier for us to trowel. So right now we're just kind of filling in the holes, making it flat, and working up that cream on the surface. Another thing I want to mention is this edge form. You just want to tap a little bit, try to get some air out, but too much vibration will trap the air underneath the bullnose, and you'll get this void underneath there. So you have to, it's really how we pack the concrete into that void, into the mold, and trying to push those air pockets out. And so we'll just want to bang it a little bit using our hands, and you'll see some bubbles come up. So then we're going to leave this for about an hour. Now we're ready to give it a second trowel. We've waited about 45 minutes for it to harden up a little bit. It's leather hard at this point, and you can push your finger into the concrete just a little bit, so you know it's ready. I have now a wooden trowel or a wood float. This is actually a resin float. And what we're going to do is just work up the cream on the surface. So we'll just kind of work it like this. And I've put a little bit of concrete over on the side, just so I can work this up. I'm just looking for it to be flat, without any big dips or high marks, and working the cream up. And we'll let this sit. We've let this sit for about a half hour, and it seems a little bit harder, but not too hard. You don't want to let it go too much, but this seems just about right. You can see a little gloss on the surface. Now I'm taking this steel trowel. My trusty steel trowel is about 24 inches long, or 18 inches. It's about 20 inches long. And we're just going to start to trowel. It's important not to dig in with the edge too much, because you don't want to scar it. But we're just kind of trying to work up that cream. I'm just going to put a little water on the trowel rather than the piece to get a little lubrication. Now we're done. We don't want to overwork the surface. We don't want to burnish it too much. We want to know when to stop. So this is just about right. We filled in all the little pinholes. And not to worry if you see a couple, because we can always come back and fill those. And remember to do your strokes in an organic kind of figure-8 motion to get it very organic and not straight lines, because that will draw your attention to the marks. Because we really want to show the trowel marks on this with the cream that we've left and that we've polished on the top, or that we've troweled on the top. So we're going to let this sit for a day or two, and we'll spritz it with water in a day or so to reintroduce moisture, let it cure. You don't want to drape it with plastic, because that might stain it. So just a little spritzing as it cures over the next couple of days. So I'll see you then. So we're all ready to strip our forms. We're gonna take off the tape on the edges and then remove these forms. It's as simple as just rolling it off the edge and then snapping it. Clean. Okay. There's our edge with some nice big holes in it. Now that we have our edge forms removed, we see that there's a couple of burrs and a lot of holes that we'll have to backfill. I'm going to do a tone on those and just to backfill it up. But before we do, we're going to take a diamond pad and clean up our burrs in a 400 grit sandpaper over the surface. And then we're going to seal it one time to lock in the color and to protect the surface before we fill in the holes with our colored paste. So I'll use the diamond pad on the higher spots on the edge. Now that we have the edges kind of cleaned up, I'm going to just dust the top and use a 400 grit sandpaper. Just take off any burrs that are on the surface before I seal it one time. You want to do this in a circular motion. And just, we're leaving the cream marks here, because that's what we're going for. That nice hard trowel look, just light. You can really feel how smooth that made it. I think we're ready to put on our first layer of sealer. I'm going to dust it off, then just put on one layer of penetrating and then another layer of satin. So the next step is to put on just one layer of penetrating sealer, or a couple of spritzes. I put it on in this spray bottle, and we just will kind of spray the surface with our penetrating sealer. And then just rub it in with a clean cotton rag. And we're going to let this sit for 10 minutes or so. You want to apply our second satin sealer on top no more than 20 minutes after we put the penetrating on. Our next step is to put one layer of satin sealer on it. I've put a little in this jug, and I'm using a microfiber cloth, and I'm just going to simply just get a little bit on there, very little. And the thing with our satin sealer is you want to put very thin layers on. But with this one, we're just protecting the surface so we can backfill these holes that are here, and hopefully they'll blend in with the top surface. So don't worry about those. There we go. Again, in a circular motion. A little goes a long way. And it's basically just a damp cloth, microfiber cloth, because you don't want to have any brush strokes. So now that we have our first layer of sealer on, we will go and make up our paste. The sealer takes just about 10 minutes to dry, so by the time we make the paste up, it will be all ready for us to apply it. I've just made my paste using our bone paste, the pigment that we used in making the countertop, which is the moss, and acrylic additive. And that formula is 1 cup of bone white paste, 1.5 teaspoons of the pigment, the ultrafine pigment, and 1/2 cup of the acrylic additive. And I'm using this whip to clean it, to whip it up and mix it together. So now that I've done that, there it is, all nice. I'm just going to use my gloved hand and put one pass on this edge. And we're going to fill it up these holes in a couple of different passes. Don't expect to fill it all in one fell swoop. So see how the paste is coming on the top edge, and we sealed it so it should be nice and clean when we take it off. That's our first pass with the paste, and we're going to let this sit for maybe 5 minutes and then come back and do it again. And that way it kind of builds it up rather than trying to get it in one swell swoop. So now that I've put on many layers of the paste on the edge, I've also have used this plastic, little piece of plastic that I can just kind of smooth it out. And then taking off the excess that's on the edge where it hits the top surface. And that's why we put a sealer on it in order for us to be able to clean it up really well. So it looks pretty good. Notice how all those voids have kind of gone away by filling that up with our colored paste. And just a number of layers, and this Scotch-Brite pad, and a little bit of patience. It's taken us about a half hour, 45 minutes to clean that edge up all the way around. So now we're just going to dust it off and put on more layers of sealer, and we'll be done. Now we're ready to seal it again. We've taken all of the excess off the edges or hand prints on the surface with our Scotch-Brite pad. I'm just dusting it off. And we're going to do the same technique with our satin sealer. Microfiber cloth, very little sealer on it, just a damp cloth. And we'll seal it maybe 3, 4, 5 times, letting it dry in between. Yeah, I'm going to let this sit for maybe 5 minutes and give it another pass. And my ultimate goal is to give it about 6 coats of this final sealer. And then we'll paste wax it, buff it out. Okay, so with a hard trowel surface, we are going for this organic trowel marks. It is right side up, so we're very limited in our finish techniques that we can do. We can leave the trowel marks, or we could polish it out and expose a little bit of the aggregate. For this one, we've left our trowel marks, and that is a very organic, very craftsman look, and that's what we're going for with this piece. Now that we've sealed and we're all ready to take off our plastic, see what we have. So I'm gonna Okay, here's our finished top. But cast in place is a wonderful option that you have. You can cast it, there's no need for seams because you don't need to pick it up and carry it upstairs. So that's a nice option of cast in place. The other thing is that if you're working on a job site, you're there and you can baby it, and what you see is what you get. That's what I love about cast in place. It's really a wonderful hands-on, immediate kind of countertop. You can do it on a job site. You can do it in Alaska. Cold as, oh. Great. You can even make it on a boat. That's right. Ahoy, matey. Yay, you can do it in a hood, on the range. What? Yeah.